Tonight, the province's police watchdog is investigating after a devastating fatal crash in Brampton.
There was a traffic stop and the driver of the vehicle fled.
The driver then slamming into another vehicle, killing a 21-year-old woman inside. We'll have the latest in the SIU investigation. Plus,
October was a busy month for the Toronto Police Service's homicide squad.
with 11 murders, 8 of them shootings, it was a deadly October in Toronto. Police still on the hunt for several suspects, while activists say the pandemic and gun culture are fueling the deadly violence. And
we noticed 4 doorbells going in, and that's when we started talking amongst ourselves, amongst the neighbors.
after a homeowner in one North Toronto neighborhood demolished their home to build a duplex, residents began to suspect illegal units were being installed. Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. Ontario's police watchdog is investigating after a devastating crash in Brampton. A 21-year-old woman was killed after a driver fleeing from police slammed into her vehicle. Del Manukduk has the details.
It happened around 2:45 this morning.
There was a traffic stop that was initiated by an OPP officer, and the driver of the vehicle fled. And subsequently, there was a collision at the intersection of Sandalwood Parkway East and Dixie Road.
A man and woman were transferred to hospital, the woman in life-threatening condition. She later died and has been identified as 21-year-old Shalom Pert.
And we have informed the next of kin, and we're communicating with the next of kin.
Pert was in the red car. The driver who fled police was in the black sedan. It has not been confirmed if the man in hospital was the driver of the car that fled. The province's Special Investigation Unit has invoked its mandate. The SIU investigates any incident involving police that results in death, serious injury, sexual assault, or the discharge of a firearm at a person. They say the driver fled from police, but there was no pursuit afterwards.
It is a horrific scene, and my thoughts and prayers go out to the young lady, or to the individual who was killed in this accident. And I'm sure in the coming days we'll learn a little bit more as to why this car was being pursued. Details
are limited as the SIU continues to investigate. 3 investigators and 3 forensic investigators have been assigned to the case. Peel Police's Collision Reconstruction Unit was on scene for much of the day.
I've actually been at the intersection and seen cars go through red lights and so forth. So it is a dangerous intersection.
The SIU is urging anyone who may have information or video surveillance about this investigation to contact them. A report must be produced within 120 days. Del Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
October was a deadly month in Toronto. A high number of shootings playing a role in a spike in homicides. The murder count for the year so far now stands at 74. Now that is already 13 more than all of 2020. As Greg Ross reports, Toronto police are hoping the public can help them catch some of the killers.
There were a total of 11 homicides in Toronto last month, and most of them involved gun violence.
October was a busy month for the Toronto Police Service's homicide squad.
Inspector Hank Edzinga with the homicide squad joined Chief James Rammer at a press conference today in an attempt to ensure Torontonians they're doing their best to keep the streets safe.
We have made a number of very quick arrests in most of our homicide investigations this past month, and we are asking for the public's help in finding those who are outstanding.
In fact, there are 4 cases where police still have not identified a suspect. They include the shooting deaths of Randy Nguyen, who was killed on October 15th, Kamal Daly, who was gunned down on October 23rd, the same day Matisse Yukhana was shot and killed. More recently, on October 28th, Jamal James was attacked while in his car. People in that Scarborough neighborhood are still on edge.
Kind of scary, because you never know. You know, I thought about it and I said, what if somebody was in the area here when that shooting was going on? You know, anybody could get caught in it.
Police say mental health issues have played a role in a third of the homicides this year, and this anti-gun activist agrees. He says the pandemic has been a factor.
People feel confined, contained. The temperature of the city itself just seems to be really high. People are frustrated. People are going through mental health issues.
He says illegal guns continue to become more accessible.
Very easy to get a gun right now, especially for the demographic we work within, marginalized communities. They seem to be extremely accessible.
While the number of homicides are up this year compared to last year, Chief Rammer says shootings are actually down 17% overall. And he says they've made arrests in nearly 3/4 of this year's homicides so far. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
York Regional Police have released video in connection to a Vaughan shooting last month. 2 suspects have been charged and they are searching for 1 more. The shooting happened just after 3:30 a.m. at a plaza. Officers located a vehicle with a bullet hole through a door along with several shell casings. 2 women were taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Mubarak Gul and Brandon Graham, both of Toronto, are facing multiple charges, including accessory after the fact to attempted murder and discharge of a firearm. Police are still searching for 23-year-old Jamil Melville of Toronto. After weeks of COVID-19 numbers trending lower, cases are climbing again in Ontario. The province logging 563 new cases today. Now that is up more than 30% from a week ago. Ali Chiasson has more now on whether this should be a cause for concern.
Ontario has 563 new cases today, making this the 5th straight day of week-over-week increases in case counts. Compare it to last Friday, when the province logged 419 new cases. Today's total is about a 34% jump. It's also the first time new cases have topped 500 since October 5th.
I've been watching this really closely, actually, because that 7-day rolling average of daily cases has been creeping up over the last week. So it's not like it just jumped up. It's actually been a slow increase since about October 31st.
The numbers aren't intensive care unit busting.
We're not seeing an increase in hospitalizations yet or increase in ICU admissions yet, which is good news.
But could we be witnessing the start of another wave? Dr. Susie Hota says what we do in these next few weeks will determine a lot, and this U of T professor of immunology agrees.
I understand why people are worried. They're seeing case counts go up, and I think the appropriate response to that is to take advantage of the weapons in our arsenals.
First of all, vaccines, and as it's expected in the coming weeks, COVID vaccines for children too.
So if you have a 5 to 12-year-old in your household, get them vaccinated, because if they're not getting vaccinated, they're going to get this virus.
Then there's these 3rd dose appointments that start this weekend, and those aren't needed because your immunity is waning.
Not at all like waning. For example, we know that the antibodies that you do make are actually getting smarter. They're evolving to get better and better at recognizing the pathogen. And that's because your memory B cells are being constantly educated and tested. And so over time, they're actually improving.
It's to re-up on antibodies after they drop off.
And what that will do to your immune system is that the antibody levels that are declining will come back up if you are immunocompromised, and if case counts start to go up in your region, then this would be an extra level of insurance so that you can resist a breakthrough infection.
Starting tomorrow, 40,000 appointments for 3rd dose booster shots can be booked if you're 70 years old or older, immunocompromised, Indigenous, or a healthcare worker. They'll be given out at places like the Metro Toronto Convention Centre and other locations across the city. For more information, have a look at the City of Toronto website. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Meteorologist Colette Kennedy joins us now with a first look at the forecast. And Colette, a gorgeous autumn day and a little bit warmer too.
Thanks, Kelda. Just such a beautiful day today. The reason why so many folks like fall is because of days like today. Beautiful colors, but nice weather conditions too. Look at some of the numbers here from our daytime highs, including a double digit there for Toronto, getting up in the afternoon to that 10 degrees. It's going to be even a little warmer over the next few days. We're going to find we're building on that. So that's the foundation for the weekend. Some variable skies. What I mean by that, at times a little more cloud cover, like starting out the day, especially the west end and southwest of Lake Ontario there. And then we'll get into more and more sunshine and less cloud cover late late in the day, a little batch of cloud coming back into southwestern Ontario near Windsor and through Sarnia. So just kind of variable. There'll be sunshine and there'll be dry conditions. And we're looking at mostly sunny conditions into Sunday. But I'm going to go into more detail on those numbers and temperatures coming up. Overnight tonight, it's 1 degree for Toronto for the low. How about 11 degrees tomorrow as we get into that south to southwesterly breeze being just a little bit stronger. And I know you're getting lots of reminders, but here's yet another one. Before you go to bed on Saturday night, go ahead and set that clock back and take advantage of the extra hour. Kilda?
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Colette. Some residential school survivors and the NDP want the province's Indigenous Affairs Minister to step down. As Lorenda Redekop explains, they say they're uncomfortable with his past involvement in a residential school legal settlement.
Rickford stepping aside as Minister of Indigenous Affairs. That would be reconciliation right now.
He became minister in 2018. Now, some residential school survivors and the NDP say Greg Rickford needs to go.
There is no trust here. Every time we hear Mr. Rickford talk about residential schools, the search for our missing children, or the crimes of the past, we are re-traumatized.
The NDP forwarded this residential school settlement deal from 2005. At the time, Rickford worked for the law firm Keshen Major that represented some survivors. He signed on the firm's behalf. Years later, the Law Society investigated complaints against Rickford's legal partner by more than a dozen of the survivors. They alleged that man arranged high-interest loans to them, anticipating settlement funds, then transferred thousands of dollars from clients to himself. Rickford provided a character reference for his former partner. The claims have not been proven. 3 other survivors who were not complainants in that case joined the NDP today.
It's optics. The whole thing does not look good in terms of the players of the past.
Representing people demands good character, integrity, honesty.
In a statement, a spokesperson for the Premier says Minister Rickford was decades removed from the events that were complained about. Every single allegation against the member of this law firm were withdrawn or dismissed.
The next question.
And she says the Premier rejects calls to remove Rickford as minister. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
As the city faces a housing crisis and sky-high rental prices, many additional units are being added illegally to new and existing properties. And this is sparking outrage among some residents, including those in one North Toronto neighborhood. Philippe de Montigny has the story.
After the owners of a tiny bungalow on this quiet street decided to demolish the house and build a duplex, nearby residents quickly began to suspect the new building contained more than 2 apartments.
We noticed that there were 4 meters put in for gas, 4 meters put in for water. We noticed 4 doorbells going in. And that's when we started talking amongst ourselves, amongst the neighbors, and several of us were concerned.
In mid-September, a city inspector signed off on the new duplex and closed the building permit. This couple living just behind the house noticed new doors, mailboxes, and appliances going in. They also filed complaints with the city.
Nothing seems to be sufficient to justify an inspection. And so this is where we start doubting that there is a desire from the city to actually.
Yeah, or what kind of resources they're willing to put to address these issues.
We kept getting, I would say, stonewalled a little bit. We weren't getting the answers to all of our questions.
Until rental listings started popping up for units A, B, and C. Then city staff went back and discovered a fully equipped basement apartment.
As a result of that, our city inspectors have issued an order to the owner requiring them to either get a permit for the unauthorized unit or remove that construction.
The owners did not respond to CBC's multiple requests for an interview. The problem, however, spans beyond this one property. The city's missing out on sizable revenues from development charges and property taxes, which typically go up the more units there are in a building.
Those definitely are concerns for the city, but I would say there's another concern that's probably even more important, is that ensuring that the tenants in these buildings are safe.
Deputy Mayor Anna Ballon plans to file a motion next week. She hopes to give more teeth to municipal agencies to crack down on illegal construction even after a building is occupied. Philippe de Monsigny, CBC News, Toronto.
The TTC is apologizing for service disruptions caused by a cyber attack, but the transit agency says it needs more time before it can share details of exactly what happened.
Obviously, there are still many unknowns about this attack, and we will share more information with the board and the public when it's appropriate.
Last week's ransomware attack hit the TTC's communications and vehicle tracking systems. But CEO Rick Leary said in an emergency meeting today, the incident didn't jeopardize safety and that the biggest impact was the loss of online booking for Wheel-Trans. The TTC says most of the affected services have been restored, though it is still seeing some email disruption. Welcome back. A special event was held before tonight's Raptors-Cavaliers game. Muslim night with the Toronto Raptors saw Muslims from across the GTA gather at the base of the CN Tower to speak out against Islamophobia.
This initiative has been planned following the tragic London attack in order to stand together and united against all forms of hatred and extremism in light of the growing anti-Muslim sentiment that's taking place.
The Toronto Raptors organized the event in collaboration with the Muslim community. It comes almost 5 months to the day after 4 members of a Muslim family were killed in a targeted attack in London, Ontario. Organizers say sports have a powerful ability to inspire fans from all walks of life and to empower those who feel marginalized. A new art installation under the Gardiner Expressway launched tonight. The project, called Reconstructions of Home, was created to honor and celebrate the experiences of community among those who live or used to live on Toronto's streets. Natalie Collada has more.
Everybody knows each other. That there's like this own ecosystem.
With each stroke, Sue Cohen pours her experience and love into the art.
For me, the homeless community looks and feels like our art piece. It is full, it is vibrant. These people have skills, really beautiful skills.
She is one of several artists to work on this art installation.
I struggle with the feeling of street culture being viewed as a problem or something to overcome. I struggle with the feeling that there are members of our city that view them as less than.
The project is called Reconstructions of Home, created by artists living or formerly living on Toronto's streets, and celebrates the lives of those who lived under Toronto's bridges.
In fact, I felt more at home under the Spadina Bridge than I ever felt when I was living at home with my family growing up.
One of the ways to experience the installation is to take your phone and scan the QR code. That will bring up the soundscape that you can listen to as you walk and reflect here under the bridge.
It's about reconstructing the idea of what home is and recognizing that, you know, home is community. Home is where your family is. Home is where you feel safe and taken care of. So home can be any number of places. It doesn't have to be a house.
It also explores the darker aspects of living on the streets.
Something happens every day, and especially with fentanyl addiction and deaths on the street. You know, the numbers are staggering, and we've had a bunch of numerous deaths under the bridge.
The vibe of Toronto right now is, quite frankly, very cold, and there has been a lot of evictions and a lot of grieving amongst the homeless community.
Tonight, a commemorative walk honored those who died, with the art continuing to highlight their stories and others, with a phone number people can call to record their own stories. Natalie Collada, CBC News, Toronto.
Let's go back to Colette now with a look at your extended forecast. And Colette, the weekend looking pretty good weather-wise as we turn back those clocks.
Thanks, Kelda. You know, so many things to do with an extra hour. I know there's just never enough hours in a day. Well, you get that one this weekend. And the thing is, if it is something like what I need to do with that, which is some yard work and some of that cleanup, it's a few things, plants still that need to be brought in before we get into the winter season. It's going to be a nice weekend to be doing that with the beautiful, beautiful conditions. Daylight savings ends. Daylight saving and temperatures trending upward. Yeah, we're going to see it a little mild Saturday, but Sunday, Monday, boy, wait till you see those temperatures coming our way. So we have at times a little extra cloud cover mixing with our sun for tomorrow, but then it'll kind of peel away into the afternoon. That's around the Golden Horseshoe. We'll see it coming in and out for southwestern Ontario, but primarily it's the fact that we will have some sun in there and also the south to southwesterly breeze. So those winds will pick up a little bit through the afternoon hours. But look at this as we're heading into Sunday. High pressure dominant. There will be a system approaching, but that's only helping to push those temperatures up by Monday. And so as that comes in, again, a lot of sunshine, clear skies. However, we won't have to worry about the temperatures being as cool through those overnights. So that's also an improvement there in terms of how that's going to feel in the early morning hours. Now, the winds kind of all over the place a little bit. The important thing is that they get a little more organized as we head into tomorrow. And again, it's south to southwest that we'll kind of be seeing here. Tonight, a look at those readings. Still some negatives into southwestern Ontario, -3 into London. 9 degrees the high tomorrow, 11 for Windsor and Leamington, 10 for you there in Sarnia. Enjoy that. And there you are tonight. It should stay at Pearson above freezing, but there's a few areas certainly dropping below, including for you in Markham, -2 the overnight low. There's the highs. There are the highs for tomorrow. And in Oshawa, sometimes that breeze off the lake keeps the temperature down a little bit. Get away from the lake and it'll be feeling a little nicer than that. There we go, 13 on Sunday. How about 15 Monday? I think there'll be many pleased with that. And staying dry through the period, then the next best chance is going to be late Tuesday of getting into some rain showers again, Kelda.
Thanks so much, Colette. Finally tonight, Massey Hall reopens later this month after 3 years of renovations. And the iconic Toronto landmark is close to looking the way it always has. Crews began the process of installing the new neon sign at the 127-year-old building today. Nearly 40 concerts have already been announced for when Massey Hall reopens. Folk legend Gordon Lightfoot will be the first to play at the venue on November 25th when the curtains are raised. Lightfoot was the last to play the concert hall on Canada Day in 2018 before it closed. And that's our show for you tonight and for the week. Thank you so much for watching. Shannon Martin has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6. I will see you back here on Monday. Have a great weekend.